What is up, everybody? My name is Kent C. Dodds. We're talking about product engineering, and with me is my friend Mickey. How are you doing, Mickey?
I'm doing great, Ken. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor and pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you also. I haven't told you this before, but going back to just over a year ago when I decided I wanted to go full in on MCP, and I made Epic AI.pro and made that course. As I was or onboarding myself to MCP, I watched your video on MCP, and it was the best explanation of MCP that I had seen to that point. So awesome job there.
Thank you. I mean, listen, to hear from the guy who basically taught me React years ago, for you to say that, that means a lot. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I feel bad that I hadn't mentioned it until just now, but yeah. So I appreciate the great content that you put out. You've been putting out some really good stuff recently. So why don't we just get an idea of who you are? You're not just a content creator. You also have like an actual job and stuff. And so
Yes, yes.
yeah, why don't you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we can talk about how you product engineer.
Yeah, so I'm a developer by trade. I currently work at Convex. I also do run, a lot of people don't know this. I do run like a product studio. Now also an AI consultancy because AI is everywhere now. So I do build a fair share of products and I tell companies what to do and not to do. And I create content. So all those three into one leads to a very packed schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a lot. I'm really interested on about the AI consultancy or the product studio because I wasn't aware that you do this. This is actually like when I had my first existential crisis earlier this year, which I think many of us have.
Yeah,
Like,
like
what do
there's like
we?
a little blimp like where everyone's like, okay, yeah, this is different and it's probably not gonna go back.
Yeah, exactly. So when I had my first one, I had some phone calls with some friends, and one of them recommended that I get into like AI transformation as a service sort of thing. Like
Hmm.
when the internet started being a really like popular thing, and everybody needed a website. That there was a decade or two of time where you could go and internetify a company, or
Hmm.
just modernize their processes and stuff. And so I imagine that's sort of kind of what you're doing. This is what my friend recommended I try to get into, and I thought about that. But yeah, tell me a little bit about what your product studio is.
Yeah, I'm not old enough to remember that part of like time. So excuse me, if I'm not seeing the parallels, but like yeah, like so a couple years ago, like when I started doing the content, like pre AI, a lot of my content was me sharing how I build stuff, right? Like how I build products, my framework of choice, my tools of choice, the decisions I made, and that sort of led to be a thing where people would hit me up and say, "Oh, can you build this for me?" Or companies would hit me up and say, "Can you build that for me?" Right, so I started to do a lot of that, and ended up being a product studio, but like naturally without even us rebranding, like if you go on our site right now, there's no AI on the site, like there's not a word of AI on the site, like, so that's how you know, like, naturally it started to progress to, oh, can you guys help us build this agent? Oh, we want something on prem, like on our machines. Oh, we want something with a local model, we want something like this. So like naturally the conversation went from like, oh, build us this company tool that our salespeople are going to use, to we want an agent for our franchisee owners to do this, that, and the third. So it kind of happened like naturally, like per se. But I will say like the demand is insane. Like there are a lot of companies who are very much interested in implementing different sort of AI workflows and stuff like that. And as an honest person, some of them I actually tell, like, you actually don't need this. Like you're like, you're just wasting time. It sounds cool, and hey, like if you want to donate money to me and like in my life, no problem. So it's been a lot of that, but yeah, like it's just literally a natural progression of me building applications for people and companies to now everyone wants AI.
Interesting. So, are with the AI applications, like, are these kind of consulting opportunities where you build an agent for their customers, or is it internal agents that you're building, or are you doing trainings on how to use agents?
Yeah, so like for a good chunk, it's actually been like training. So like people just like, oh, like we have like 30 people on the team. Can you show us how to set up OpenClaw? Like the most recent one was like they're like a company, like a big company, and like they're a licensing company, and they basically want their customers, people who license their products, to be able to communicate with one agent that has access to all the information, right?
Hmm.
So it's like it's a lot of these like very specific to them type solutions. Now I tell them straight up like, hey, like you download OpenClaw, boot it up in a VPS, and like tinker with it, like you can kind of get it to work. But like most people want like an out of the box solution, completely
Yeah.
done, completely ready, completely for them. And yeah, that's what's like, that's literally been, it's been the same ask for the last, I would say, 10 people who've reached out.
Yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. I built my own like custom agent. It's all through MCP actually that can like it has integrations with just about everything, and it's pretty powerful when you have an agent that can actually do stuff for you, and a little bit addicting as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Like it can be like, and that's the thing. It can almost be fun. Like I've noticed that, like right here, like I have a Steam Deck. Like I game every now and then, but I've noticed that like sometimes I'll just play with AI or build something like it, like the same like curiosity with engineering has sort of transferred to like agentic building, because like now like I'm more bolder with like the things that I want to try. Like I probably would have never wanted to try building something with Haskell. Now it's like I don't need to know how Haskell, like the syntax of Haskell. I'm just gonna give it a try, right? So like there definitely is this shift that's happening, and yeah.
Yeah, that I expect that as you were saying, like the OpenClaw, it's not terribly difficult to spin up and tinker with it and stuff. But like you said, people don't want to do that. They just want like one click install sort of thing, and it just works. And I think that's actually coming.
Yeah,
Like
and if
that.
you're a business, right, like who has like 100 plus employees, right, like time is very much of the essence, right? I don't think anyone, and like that's the one thing like I start to realize is just like for me, it's hard to comprehend paying for someone to do something that I can do, but like when
Hmm.
you run a 300 person organization, like time is not something you play with, right? So a lot of people are just paying for expertise and time at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, as these companies are paying for your expertise and time, how do you know, like going back to more general consulting and the product studio, I'm curious how you determine what the actual problem is that they're hiring you to solve. Like sometimes they might like come to you with a solution, and you even mentioned like sometimes you kind of push back and say you don't need that. Like where does that intuition come from, and how do you like uncover and clarify the problem space that they're trying to hire you for?
Yeah, I just assume that the person reaching out to us has no idea what they're talking about. I'll give you an example. We had one client one time saying, "Oh, I want sub agents." I'm like, "What?" I asked him, "I'm like, what is a sub agent?" He's like, it's just like the agents and the agents underneath, and they communicate." And I'm like, "Well, what is the benefit of a sub agent?" And the reason why he asked me that is because he watched a YouTube video of someone talking about they had like 50 sub agents, and that looked cool and productive. And I told him, like, first and foremost, the agent itself, if it thinks that the task is too big and is going to take time, we'll deploy. So, like, so there's a lot of these things where, like, I've come to realize now, especially, but like what people say and what they really want are two different things, right? So,
Hmm.
like, there's definitely a lot more back and forth. I definitely have to be a little bit more aggressive and press, right? Like what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? And there have been people like I've had to turn down because it's like, yeah, you watched a couple of YouTube videos and excited. It like there's actually no problem to solve here, right?
Hmm.
Which like is a product thinking in and of itself, right? Like when you have like these issues presented to you, you have to sort of think, okay, like what can I build that solves this? Not what can I build that looks cool, that looks like that it
Hmm.
can solve this, but doesn't really do that. So there's a lot of that unfortunately comes through painful learning. Like you're gonna have a couple of those people, you're gonna start working with them, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, actually, I wanted this, or this is what we need," and you're like, "This is what you requested in the beginning." So there's a lot of back and forth in those cases. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like the last thing that you want to do as a product studio that where you want to have longevity and good customers is to just build to spec and have them be unhappy with it. Like that, your job isn't to come in and build to spec. Your job is to come in and solve a problem that's good enough. And
Yeah.
so, how do you like? Where does that intuition come from to know that the problem they're bringing to you is good enough, and then to like uncover what the actual problem is?
Yeah, like one thing I'll say is like always start with the problem, right? Like right now, um, like I'll be honest, like with how things are going and all the tools we have access to, for anyone who's doing like any sort of like consulting or whatever work, I pray to God you're building your own stuff, right? Because like it feels like we have so much, like especially if you have access to the latest and greatest models, there should be no reason you're building. So we are building, like I am building my own apps, and I would love to talk about like the thought process and stuff like that. But when it comes to dealing with clients, there's a saying: a smart man learns from his mistakes, a wise man learns from others. I learned a lot from mistakes, right? I learned a lot from originally saying yes to everybody, like telling everybody, yes, those are your dreams, I'll make your dreams come true. And then you start to work, and then you're like, oh, this is a nightmare. This is not a dream, right? So it's a lot of pain. But the main thing that I keep hunkering down is A, we always start with the problem at hand. B, we create a plan that shows them this is what the beginning and the end looks like. And we
Hmm.
have check-in points. And at every check-in point, we remind them of the plan, right? Because we like there are some clients, especially if they have been indoctrinated with YouTube AI propaganda, they will want one thing, and then next week they want the latest thing, right?
Ooh,
There's a
yeah.
company that's like, oh, we want like open cloud, but with our own sort of like meta harness around it. And like, no problem. Hermes came out. Oh, we want it to be a Hermes thing. And then one of their engineers saw a Pi video and they're like, screw all of that. Why don't we just build our own custom implementation on top of Pi? Right. So there's like a lot of this that happens. And this is why, again, we go back to the problem and it's like what it is. Like, okay, AI aside, what is it that you want to solve? And there have been a
Hmm.
couple people where like, you don't even need AI. You need a couple automation flows. And there's some who I tell them straight up, your team just needs a Cloud Cowork subscription. You know, get the,
Hmm.
you guys are a big enough company, get the enterprise plan, get a good deal, and you know what I mean? Because like at the end of the day, to your point, reputation matters, right? My name matters.
Hmm.
People need to be happy with what I built for them. And I've learned this. A lot of people do not know what they want.
Yeah. Man, so like that sounds like a pretty difficult challenge for you to identify what people want. Are there specific questions that you ask to kind of get an idea of what's going to solve problems for people? Like, yeah, a faster horse would be nice, but here we're going to invent something completely different. Here's a horseless carriage, like
Yeah.
that sort of transformative um, uh, change from what they want to like what they actually need. What are the sorts of questions that you ask a client to really uncover what they actually need?
Yeah, so like for the most part, like it's honestly just having a like an honest conversation. And I joined the call saying, listen, I like we're just gonna talk like we're friends. Let's identify what the problem is, and I want you to present to me what solution you have, right? And for example, for the most recent one call I had is again they have a lot of licensees. I don't know if that's the word, but a lot of people license their products, and there's like a lot of like information and data the company has, and they want people to be able to access it to optimize whether it be sales, marketing, distribution, and all that stuff. And basically, what they want is a lot of their customers are older people, right? They're not, on the computer. Like they're like they live in WhatsApp, right? They live on WhatsApp or Telegram. So he said he basically wants people to be able to chat with this agent on WhatsApp and Telegram, and they can get like order information, delays, and like how much they've sold and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense, right? Because you have this company that has, for lack of a better term, boomer customers who are not really privy to the internet, who telling them to go on the internet and log in on a dashboard and read numbers is a big ask. So
Yeah.
his main thing is he's like, we don't even want a website. We don't want none of that. We just want people to be able to open Telegram and WhatsApp. They're very used to this, and to be able to communicate to this, get data, send actions and stuff like that. And for the team, like for like the like the main company, they can like they'll have like this, admin dashboard where they can approve things, see things, and all that type of stuff. And for like the level of business and the amount of data and information and integrations these people had, I'm like, this makes sense, right? But we started with the problem. The problem is they have a lot of customers. Like I think 90% of their customers are over the age of 55, right?
Hmm.
So this is like a not internet savvy group, and we want them to use WhatsApp. Like this was a big enough thing for me to be like, okay, this sort of makes sense. So it's a lot of these type of conversations where we start with the problem. I ask them to present me a solution, and there are times where I'll present a, like, again, a counter solution. Like there was one time, this company was like, I think they might have been a law firm or they work with law firms, something like that. And they're like, oh, we just want like document reviews, and we have all these things and this, that, and the third. And could have built it for them, could have made a little bit extra money, but I literally told him, you guys just need a Claude Cowork subscription. He's like, what's that? And I shared my screen. I showed him how Claude Cowork worked, did a couple integrations, and he was like, this is perfect. And like, so it's a lot of like people have problems. They've been told AI is this golden child. And, for the most part, especially with knowledge work, it is really, really amazing.
Hmm.
But there are times where like a custom solution isn't really, really necessary. Now there are some companies where that custom solution is a part of their company, meaning like let's say they want to sell the company or something like that, like that's a part of their offering. And like some people tell me like, yeah, like we plan on selling in 3 to 4 years. We need some software to get the numbers up. And I'm like, yeah, fair. Okay. If you want us to do that, we'll do that. So it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of back and forth.
Hmm.
It can be time consuming in the beginning, especially when a check is floated in front of you. Like there's this inkling to just jump and say yes, but it's
Hmm.
almost never worth the pain and the time wasted if the person's not a right fit, if the company's not a right fit.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like what you say of just like you just need a cloud subscription because sometimes or often I find that it's better for people to do it the hard way first. Like use the off the shelf tools and see how it goes. Because that will be a really good input into the actual solution you end up building. That's actually I don't know if you've read the book The Mom Test, but that's one of the questions that you ask to get to the core idea or input into whether your idea is a good one is asking people, okay, what are you currently using? When was the last time you did this? Where did that solution fall short? And so, um, like you can't answer that question if you haven't done it the hard way first. Like if you haven't used
100%.
an existing solution, and so that and honestly, it's kind of the way we work with agents too. Like you talk with the agent, have a conversation, explain what the shortcomings of the current solution are, and then the agent can go and implement something that's better.
100%. Like that's literally, and like I have like a video coming out on like how I don't use plan mode, but I still plan. And a lot of that is like having this back and forth and like challenging the agent, telling the agent you can push back and really clearing out your thoughts. Cause a lot of people, especially if someone is like, I don't want to even say just a business owner, most people have a lot going on in life, right? Most people have things they're going through. They got kids, they got families, they got this, they got work, they got a job. Like not everyone has like a clear mind where they can focus on one specific thing and everything's locked out. If you are that person, what a blessing. So it's like it's part of the job, at least on like when it comes to the studio, is to be able to slowly pull out like that information. And even like when I'm communicating with my agent, it's like, and we're planning, it's a lot of that. Like I understand there's a lot of thoughts in these minds, in this mind. They might not be ordered properly, so let's have a conversation. This is why like you can have a rough day and you talk with someone and you kind of feel better because you've given yourself the ability to reorganize and restructure what was in your mind. So yeah, I'm a big, big believer in talking with the agent.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned also that you sometimes like go through solving problems for yourself, like building your own software. Where do your ideas come from? Like how do you come up with the problems that you're experiencing? How do you avoid spinning wheels on things that aren't really going to push things forward for you? How do those ideas come?
Yeah, so like I would say the biggest one, and this might feel controversial, like there are tools and products that I'll like, and there are times where I think I can do a better job. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I do, but there's a part of me that's like, man, like I wish I built this product. Like I like this idea, and I would do X, Y, and Z. So a lot of that lately has been like, okay, what are the tools that I'm using a lot, and can I make them better? Right? Can I make it more me? Can I customize it to my liking? Like, what would a perfect product look like for me? So that's been like a big thing. I mean, I'm sure like everyone who's watching this is probably on X. Like, there's there's launch galore, right? Everyone's launching a
Mm.
new app, a new this, but and that's because AI has made it so simple, right? AI has made it, just a couple prompts, a couple clicks, and your app is live. But taste and quality and care and empathy for the user borderline does not exist now, which makes it
Yeah.
very easy to stand out. So there have been a lot of apps, Kent, that I'll see on Twitter, and I'm like, that's really sick idea. Like like I couldn't even imagine how that person thought of that. But I use it, and I'm like, man, that kind of sucked. So it's been a lot of like, oh, like I like the idea behind a lot of these apps that people are launching. I think I could do a better job because I care about whatever this person built, and that's been like the source of ideas lately for me.
No, I love that. I love that you like lots of us are complaining about oh software is awful now. Like where's the taste? Where's the judgment? Where like it's just a kitchen sink of all the features. And for you, you see that as an opportunity to like take advantage and stand out as somebody who has taste. Where did your
Hundred
taste come
percent,
from?
100%. If you genuinely actually take a little bit of time and like care, right? Like it does. You don't even have to be like we can all look at something and say, okay, this is greatly designed. Like everyone can look at linear and be like, oh, this feels premium, right? I don't think there's
Mm.
anyone who sees linear and doesn't think it's premium. I don't think anyone someone sees Notion, it's like, okay, like you might, it might not even be your style, but you get it, right? You get why people gravitate towards these products, right? So just this little bit of like extra step of care. And by the way, you're prompting anyway, right? You're probably not writing the code by hand, and if you are, like, that's great. But if you're going to prompt anyway, just a little bit of care, a little bit of like the micro interactions, like the flows and this that and the third. Like I think those little small wins stacked up together uh lead to a big change. In terms of where I get the sense of taste, man, like I have this like thing. I don't know if it's innate or not, but if I hear, let's say, a song that I really really like, there's this part of me that's like, man, I wish I made it. If I see an app that I really, really like, there's a part of me that's like, I wish I made it. So I have like this collection, whether it be music, whether it be apps and stuff like that, that like live in my mind. And like, that's the first thing I go for, right? And another thing too, and I learned this a lot from Convex, especially the founders at Convex, is simplicity wins. And simplicity is actually very difficult. Like building something complex, especially with AI, is so easy now, right? Like the AI defaults for complexity, but building something simple, like building something minimal yet very functional, is extremely difficult, right? So the iteration loop that I go through is, how can I make this as simple as possible? How can I make this as easy as possible? If like you sign up for an app of mine and you don't already know how the thing should work, then something's wrong, right? And you might not get that on the first iteration, right? Because who knows? I'm just guessing, you're just guessing. But this is where the care and it matters, where you're going to have a feedback loop. If people are complaining, you fix on that, you innovate on that, and you keep on going, right? So I have this trouble thinking taste is something you have or you don't. I definitely do think it's something that's developed over time. Like the more you ship, the more you build, the more things are out in the public, right? That's another thing too. It's scary to launch stuff because people might not like your baby, and no one wants to hear that they have an ugly baby. In this case, an ugly product. So it's one of those that time is what teaches you. And yeah, I've shipped my fair share of slop even before AI. So I guess that helped.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can relate to that also. Several of the examples that you used to when talking about taste involve the like the design, the look and feel, the like the way that it feels to use. Is taste just about design, or is there something else that makes a product really a delight to use?
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, like there's different types of products. The ones I usually focus on are things that solve problems, right? There's products that you do for fun. There's luxury products and all that type of stuff. Usually in the sector of like, okay, user has said a problem, I want to fix it, right? And in that category, the goal is always simplicity, right? Simplicity, like when an app is simple, right? And simple doesn't mean it's 3 pages, but it just means if whatever user comes on your application and they have a problem, it should be very quickly for that problem to be solved, right? So that's the big thing I think about. It's like, how can I make it simple? How can I make it intuitive? How can it be so, like, if someone comes to my app with a problem, how quick is it for us to solve that problem, right? For example, let's say I wanted to build an app that deploys OpenClaw for people and they can set up integrations and stuff like that. The question is, from time they sign up to time it becomes functional, how long does it take? Right
Mm,
now, the one issue we have is deployment might take 3-4 minutes, right? And then there's all these integrations and they're all this, like, how can I make it a simple experience, right? So, and I also need to know who I'm talking to, who this is for, right? If I'm
mm,
talking to developers, it's a different crowd. If I'm talking to people who are not technical at all, that's a different crowd. If I'm talking to quasi-technical people who, watch MKBHD, don't know how to write code, but would probably download, like, would probably go on the Tor network and download a Tor, like those people, that's a different crowd as well, right? So
mm.
whichever crowd that I'm targeting, I want to make it as simple as possible, right? And there's assumptions you can make, but nothing beats real world data, right? And this is why I love the product studio, where when we build an app, um, the feedback is almost like direct, right? So like we know if we're going the right direction or not. Versus with like an app that you own that you're launched to people, you can get in this loop where you're like, okay, one more feature, one more this, one more that, one more that, and then you launch, and then so many things are broken, right? And now you have to strip things out, and you need to figure out, how can I make things simple? The North Star is always simplicity. You want to make
Mm.
something stick, it has to be simple. The simpler things are, the better. My philosophy, at least.
Yeah, I think that it's really valuable to have a North Star. So many people just build things um, incidentally. But I think to build something intentional, you need to decide what is the North Star? What's the vision for whatever it is that you're building? Whether that be like, okay, maybe you're working in a big company, it's a huge app, and you have a vertical slice or something. Um, like you still can have a North Star for what you are doing, and hopefully it aligns really well with what the rest of the company is doing, and you can think more outside of your own slice of that. But yeah, you got to have that North Star and that vision. You mentioned like multiple different crowds of people that you might be building for. How do you find the people in those crowds so that you can like bring clarity to the problem space that they're having, so that you make sure that you're actually solving a problem they have in the way that they would like or in a way that actually solves their problem?
Yeah, like the best thing, and I was actually saying this to someone who I spoke to at an event, is like, if you have domain knowledge in an area prior to you building the app, say like you worked at a pharmacy before, you building an app for pharmacists is the most valuable thing, right? Because that
Hmm.
domain knowledge guides every step, right? If I'm building an app for teachers and I used to be a teacher, like I almost know exactly the pain, what they go through, what they like, what they don't like, right? So domain knowledge is almost the best thing, right? Because with domain knowledge, you almost make these assumptions that are based on real life experience versus, like, one app idea I had a couple, like, right before like the AI boom started to happen, like Opus 4.5 started to happen. It's like, oh, what if we built like an accounting app for accountants or bookkeepers, right? And the reason why the idea was like so lovely to me is because I remember struggling doing my bookkeeping myself, right? I'm like, oh, maybe if I built an app for bookkeepers, but I don't know. I'm not a bookkeeper. I don't know their pain. I don't know how many clients they have. Like, I would build this app with so much assumptions that if I present this to bookkeepers, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, sorry, no." Right. So the biggest thing is, ideally, you build something in the knowledge in an area where you have domain expertise, or you work with someone who does. Right. Like for me, for this one app we're working on, it's AI for businesses, and I have a lot of business owner friends, right? So I hear a lot about their problems and their issues and their frustrations and all the things that they want. And I'll give them access to a little MVP that I built. And then based on that feedback, it actually steers me the right direction. Because again, nothing beats domain expertise. So either you have it or someone close to you has it, and you use that as a feedback.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really important. It can be really easy to build something and carry it over to that crowd and find out that that crowd doesn't meet there.
Yeah, they'd be like,
You,
"Oh, we never needed this. Like you just
yeah.
like wasted 3 months of your life building something that no one ever needed."
And how often does that happen, right? Like even if it's okay, there's the MVP that you're building, but there's also like features in existing applications. You're at a big company or you've been working here for a long time. How many times have we all built a feature or a product that ended up not getting used or got canceled partway through
Too
or
many times.
too many times? Yeah.
Too many times. Like at my very first job was a very corporate company. And I'm telling you, like the PMs would bring all these ideas, we would build them, manager sees it and says it's garbage. Like, or we don't need
Hmm.
it. And that's like 2, 3 months of work right there, right? So um yeah, it's a terrible feeling. And but not only that, like it's even worse when you're building a product yourself and you made all these assumptions without either consulting yourself if you have the domain expertise, and if you don't, someone else who's in the space.
Yeah, yeah. And like I mean, honestly, if you are on the team that keeps building stuff that nobody ends up using, eventually somebody's going to ask you, like, so when was the last time you built something that like was actually valuable for this company? And that's just not a good place to be in. And so you do have to kind of take ownership over your own career and your own trajectory inside the company.
Hmm.
Like you cannot be satisfied with like, well, yeah, the implementation was really good though. Like that's my job as the implementer. No, you got to expand your scope of what you actually care about.
And companies expect different now. Like the scope of the area in which developers work in has expanded. Before it was like you're a code monkey, right? Take it on Jira, you write code, push QA reviews. Like now, like especially with a lot of like the new companies and the startups, they want you all around. They want you to
Hmm.
make product decisions. They want you to build the application. Some of them even want you to do the code, like the video, like explaining what you built, right?
Hmm.
So like we're definitely in a time where because AI can sort of speed progress, it doesn't mean the quality side, but because it can speed up progress, you're sort of expected to do more. So, yeah, definitely push for what you want. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Ooh, ooh, I like that. That's good. Closed mouths don't get fed. And I think that the only way that you can really do that is with that domain knowledge you were talking about. So, like, if you don't have it yourself, you probably should get it. Like, you work at a company. Maybe you are a company that helps manufacture children's books or something. Like, and you're just doing back office stuff. Like you got to go talk to the people who are using your software. You have to understand as much as you possibly can about the manufacturing process
Hmm.
of books.
Hmm.
Like even beyond just like the specifics of what your feature does, you have to understand the lives of the people who use your product so that you can like with that domain knowledge be in the room and actually come up with novel ideas of solving problems with the technical expertise you have. Like we're not turning everybody into product managers. Like the technical expertise, the product engineer actually has a lot to offer beyond just like, oh, I talk to users. Like, no, 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 that's not how this works.
No, 100%. And like, not only that, like, we like I genuinely like as much as like obviously like there's a party that misses sitting down writing code by and all that stuff. I genuinely think developers have just become more powerful, right? Because now like I can learn and absorb information at a much faster rate, right? I can explore new technologies like this. I've never written a line of Rust in my life. Just the other
Hmm.
day for an app I was building, I was like, oh, what if we built a server in Rust? Like just random thought, like that now I can do, right. So the developer, anyone with technical expertise, you've just become a lot more valuable contrary to what all the news says, right? And if you just have the ability to communicate and ask questions and build a hypothesis based on people who are in a specific domain and can turn that into a product, that's a really big W. I mean, think of some of the most like expensive like apps that companies pay for. Like I remember like my first like corporate job, the onboarding software, I forgot what it was called. It was the most ugliest, terrible thing ever. But it solved a specific problem, and these guys were probably raking in millions, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
like it, some apps don't even need AI. You can be in a domain that's like not cared for, and there's a specific problem, and they're still using Excel. You can build a simple CRUD app that just does the thing right, and you can be very, very successful, right? I think especially as developers, we have this idea that we have to like innovate and build something completely new, which is cool. We need innovators, right? But for the most part, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, a lot of verticals just need a solution that works for them. And for the most part, that's usually a CRUD app, And
Hmm.
like, sometimes we overthink things. We overthink problems. We overthink solutions. And this is why, going back to the first point, simplicity wins. Simple just wins.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to fall in love with the solution. Feel like, wow, isn't this so cool? And the accountant is like, yeah, but like, is the math right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Uh, cool. So, Mickey, we're getting close to the end of the episode. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you really want to make sure we cover about product engineering, user empathy, judgment, ownership, anything like that?
Yeah, I think like we live in a time where again, like, PhD level knowledge is like accessible via $20 a month subscription. $0 if you want to read ads. Um, and I just think it'd be sad to not take advantage, right? Like I think as developers, like yeah, like I had that little flash moment where I'm like, man, is this thing gonna replace me? Like all these years, all this knowledge I spent building this stuff, and I realized like no, like I'm actually a lot more valuable now. Like building apps with AI, if you took someone like me or yourself, Kent, and you took someone who's non-technical at all, like we are going to build a better application. We are going to build a more like, a more solid application, one that can actually handle users, one that won't break, when 10 people use it, right? Like this, like the engineering mind that everyone has built is not going away. What's disappearing is syntax. And if you loved syntax, I'm sorry. That truly is a big loss because syntax and remembering all that is gone. But engineering, architecting, building systems, just keeping things simple, thinking first principles, these things are so valuable because the AI doesn't think. It just predicts the next token. You help it predict the next token, right? So I think to anyone watching this who feels doom and gloom, like this is actually a great time. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to product, I really think, again, like really focusing on the problem and saying, how can I solve the problem? Now, if you are, and this might seem contrary to the stuff I said. Now, if you are optimizing for VC money, then yeah, do all the nonsense, right? Super nice animations, floating bubbles, like all of that, like necessary, right? Because you're trying to raise money, and unfortunately, when you're in that position, the VC is the customer right now. The VC needs to be pleased, and then once you have the money, then you can focus on the customer, right? That's one problem. But when it comes to building a product, the question is, what problem are you solving, and are you solving it well? If you're not solving it well, that's the first thing we need to fix. Another thing that I always see is involve people that you want to serve, right? For me, the
Hmm.
one product I'm working on, I got 3 businesses on a free trial, right? It's costing me money, but the feedback is so valuable because, God forbid, imagine I spent 6 months building it, I launch, and nobody cares. That's the
Right.
worst pain ever, right? So keeping it simple, really thinking in first principles. If you're already an engineer, you have the best advantage. Um, and have fun. Have fun. Like it has to be fun, right? Like if you're having fun and you're enjoying it, it won't feel like work. But if you're dreading it, then it's a tough time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure to chat with you and peek into your mind about your product studio and the way that you think about products. So, as we wrap up, I always like to end every episode with a specific piece of homework that people can do. So, this is like read this book or do this thing, or like set up this automation, whatever.
Yeah.
And that way, like people, they listen to this, but then they like act on it to improve their own product sense, their ownership, whatever. So, what is something specific that you want people to do as a result of listening to this episode?
So for the developers, for the engineers, I really encourage all of us to go back to the old books. the old engineering books that we all hated. You know, everybody made fun of Uncle Bob for clean code. But like for agents, it kind of helps. All these functional books, designing. I have one here, designing. Let me pull this up right here. This book right here. I remember it's like, oh, you don't need this to build applications. You have Next.js, you have this, you have that. Now, though, with AI, having this imprinted in your mind makes you a better builder with these AI agents, because these AI agents are great at writing code. They're not great at engineering. So my homework for anybody watching is pick one OG engineering book and read it and see how much better you become at prompting these AI agents.
Love that. Thank you so much, Mickey. Thank you for giving us some of your time. What's the best place for people to follow up with you, ask questions, and keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, X is a great place. RASMIC. Same with YouTube. I appreciate you, Kent, for the opportunity. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you again. We'll see you all in the next one.
Have a good one, everyone.